Has come on 9 o'clock, and today is the 27th of February 2025. Is there a problem, councillors? Okay. So we'll start out the meeting with a prayer to start with. If you'd like to bow your heads, you're more than welcome to. Dear Heavenly Father, look after us today as we go through and have your discussions of the business for your district. May you look after the people here and those who cannot be here today, Lord. If wherever they may be, whether they're in hospital or whether they're having other duties, may you look after them and look after those who represented your precious name. Amen. Okay, councillors, we have declarations of interest. As usual, if there is any declarations of interest as we go through the agendas, please make it known. We have two apologies today, Councillor Olsen and Councillor Ruka. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor... We have an apology from her at this present moment, so... Okay. And the team are aware of that? Yep, okay. If she does turn up, we will put her as late then for the time being. Councillor Harding, you are moving that, and Councillor Connop, you're seconding. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors. And we do also acknowledge that we've got Councillor Peters online, which is always great to see you, Councillor Peters, and hopefully you're healing well. Go on to... Just to remind the councillors that the meeting is being live streamed, and please remind of the language and decorum inside the chambers. This is a respectful place, and I expect our elected members to be respectful in that process. Okay. So at this present moment, we'll move on to our public forum, which we actually have 4 speaking slots, and the first one, I believe, here is Nate Boaz. Come on up front to the mate. Now, you've got a microphone there. There's a ladies... Nicolene's going to come and show you how to use the microphone.
That means that microphone's live, you see, you're talking to it. Yeah.
So, Nate, what we do is we have 5 minutes. So you're lucky first here. So you've got 5 minutes to speak your point and allow the councillors will be able to ask you questions afterwards, okay? So the time is yours.
Okay. I don't get this. Oh, all right. Hi everyone, my name is Nate Boaz, and I'm an 11-year-old homeschooler who lives in rural Whangarei. I have come here today to ask that you consider installing a Parkour obstacle park in Whangarei. Parkour is a practice from getting A to B in the quickest, smoothest way possible. I've been practicing parkour for nearly 3 years and it has become a passion of mine. It even led me to start an obstacle training academy at Active Attitude, and then on to represent New Zealand at the Australian Ninja and Obstacle Champs in Melbourne, Australia in January this year. Parkour and obstacle has taught me so many skills, both physical and emotional, such as strength, spatial awareness, flexibility and balance, determination, problem solving, taking sensible risks, perseverance and confidence, to just name a few. These skills are vital in me growing up to be a good man, plus it is just pure fun. The skills learnt also proved to be very useful when competing in the Ninja Comp in Australia. I'm excited to see the sport of parkour, ninja and obstacle racing evolve in New Zealand. It could be an opportunity for Whangarei to host a parkour event and then on to lead into a ninja or obstacle national or even international event. How awesome would that be for Whangarei? Having a dedicated parkour park would provide a space to train, play and create an invitation to move for all ages. I'm at an age that at times, when I've been practicing parkour at local parks, other parents growl me. Even though I'm safe and have a plan if it fails, it would be very welcoming to have a park that was dedicated to parkour for the older kids and all adults to go, move, practice, train and play. I have contacted many individuals and groups regarding the installation of the park, including Sport Northland, Active Attitude, a clinical psychologist, Parkour NZ, physiotherapist, Obstacle New Zealand, Play Advocates, both Damien from Invercargill and Belinda from Northland. Damien is also involved with Parkour NZ and is aware of the proposal, and is more than happy to support with the design. There have been a few parkour parks installed throughout New Zealand. Inns Common Parkour Training Area in Hamilton, which the community loved and is very popular. There's also been one installed in Nelson and Palmerston North, although the Palmerston North one used a kit set park and has never been popular, and one is in the pipeline for Rollston. I've gathered quotes from Playground Centre for a kit set and Playtop safer surfacing, and obtained some signatures of support, all of which I have included in the paperwork given. Throughout this journey, the location I feel would work best has changed as my knowledge has grown. I now feel that by the pump track or the little grass area by the boat shed on the loop walk would be great. An area that is not attached to a playground and where there is space for expansion if a 100-metre obstacle course would be considered in the future. I can only see all the huge benefits of having a parkour or obstacle park installed in town for everyone. Let's work together to give the older kids and adults somewhere to be young at heart again. Thank you very much for having us and considering my proposal.
Well done. Well done, Nate. Well done in presenting to that. And well and truly in time, so that's very well done. Councillors, do we have any questions? I have one there from Councillor Patrick Holmes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well done, Nate. Good man. Understood all that. For us oldies that don't really do parkour, and I'm one of them, could you explain to us exactly what it is?
So parkour is the practice from getting A to B in the quickest, smoothest way possible. I think there's many types of parkour. Overcoming obstacles. It's like jumping and flipping.
Okay. Your assistant's doing well there. Thank you. And from your research, because I can see that you're very passionate about this, what do you think it might cost us if we were to put a parkour course in?
Have you been given the little booklets?
No, sorry, we've been given no booklets at this present
Sorry, I
moment.
did pass them on to Melinda. There's a little bit of stuff to pass on.
That's okay, just a rough ballpark figure.
The ones that have been done throughout New Zealand have cost about 80.
About 80,000, okay.
The quotes that we gathered came in about something similar as well, with
Okay.
the surfacing and the kit set, but yeah, about 80.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nate.
Councillor Hulse.
Well, thanks for coming in, Nate. And just two questions. One, does Board Northland give you good support? And two, are there a recognised parent group, like someone to look after and organise this on your behalf?
Sport Northland was a lot of help.
Yes, we've met with Sport Northland and we've gone back and forth with them quite a bit, and they have set us up with Melinda and things like that. And there is quite a few parents behind us. We've got quite a little following of people and some that couldn't make it here today. So yes, there are parents that are prepared to support this and push it further.
Okay, good one, thank you.
And I've got Councillor Connop.
Thank you. Well done for speaking. You did very well. Let's just start off with that. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
The comment you made earlier about the different types of parkour courses that you have. You said you're suggesting a potential of a kit set, but there was an area that wasn't really supportive of a kit set. Was that?
Yes.
What wasn't liked about the kit set versus a standalone purpose-built facility? Do you know?
Do you remember?
No.
So Damien, the play advocate, who is working with,
He's now employed, his day job is with Invercargill. They're setting up an area down there. And he's helped with some designs throughout New Zealand. The one being in Hamilton, Te Awamutu, things like that. And he just said the one that was in Palmerston North with that bought the kit set has just not proved popular. They don't use it. Where the others, there are some photos in your kits of, it kind of looks like a building site. They have been proven really, really popular, and at times, like, there's no space because they're popular. So I think yeah, didn't actually say, we didn't quite get to go into why. It was just, yeah.
That's all right. No, I'll definitely have a look through this. I'll recommend submitting to the annual plan or long-term plan when you get a chance, because that is one of the best times to be able to get it in. Again, way to go. Thank you for coming in. And as somebody who did it before I even knew the name of it, I'm keen to look at this when it happens too. So thank you very much.
And just to remind our elected members again, this is about questions only. Please keep your statements to yourself. I will tell you only once. Councillor Golightly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question. Thank you, Nate. I'm assuming that this park is a outside, you'd prefer an outside area?
Yes.
Yes. Would it work inside if there was a big area
I
at all?
think it would, but it would be better outside.
Nate, probably because we haven't had a chance to go through the paperwork here, have you got a specific site that you have identified as being the best site?
So in my speech, I had identified 2 that I reckon would work really well.
Where are those?
The one is one is the pump track, somewhere around there, because there's lots of space there. And 2 is the grass area by the boat shed on the loop walk.
There's a monkey bar there.
And like it's got all the equipment, like the bars and the monkey bars and the swings.
And last question, how well did you go in the Ninja in Australia?
I made it to the finals, and I am very happy with what I did.
As we all are. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in. As there's no more questions, thank you for taking the time to come in, and you can sit down there and listen to the rest, or, yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Our next speaker is Brett and Jackie. Now, you're going to have to make sure I say this correct, guys. I do apologise about this. Is it Piskulich? Piskulich. Piskulich.
Croatian.
I would have thought there would have been an H on there, Jovic. I apologise,
We didn't all put H's on. We probably should
As
have.
with Nate, you've got 5 minutes. Your time starts now, okay?
Okay. Good morning. Look, we're a family of 5. We live on a small we live on one of 14 small rural properties within a 1.5 kilometre strip in Ruatangata. We enjoy the rural environment, the noise of farm animals and farm implements, and the smell of cow shit. Sorry, probably not supposed to say that. And silage are bliss. We understand the need for the council to have rules which ensure people in the community can live and work without discord, much like the rules in this chamber ensure order. We have an issue. The issue is a large weed spraying business employing between 10 and 18 plus staff, some of whom have been accommodated on site, set up next door to us illegally with no consideration given to the impacts on the neighbours. In fact, the chemical storage and operational yard area is much closer and in full view of the neighbours, but well away from their own house. The property is clearly inappropriate for this weed spraying business and contravenes 2 of 3 parts of RPR OZ Rule 14, due to it being well within 250 metres of 5 homes and operating from an outdoor area of over 4,000 square metres when the maximum allowed is 500 square metres. Us and the 3 closest neighbours have been impacted by the odour of chemicals. We have real concerns about the immediate and long-term impacts of the chemicals on our health. We're all on tank water. We don't know what's going to happen to our tank water from this stuff. The amenity of our formerly peaceful area is significantly impacted. We find ourselves unable to enjoy our outdoor areas due to the impacts of the chemical odour, noise and visual effects. Noise is experienced both early in the mornings, throughout the day and until late at night. At no time has the council ever moved to stop this illegal activity from taking place. Here's a timeline of what's happened. June last year, we made a first complaint when we noticed earthworks started on this site. We were told that no action could be taken until the business was up and running and the complaint was closed. We're told that the council takes a educational, guiding and helps people. It's supposed to help with this stuff, but that's not what's happened. September 24, further complaints from the neighbours were made, not just us. Weed spraying business were told they were in breach, and we were told that they would likely be given 3 weeks to submit a resource consent application to be able to continue to operate. In November 2024, council staff told us that the weed spraying business is now completely moving to a new location. However, in December 2024, council staff advised us, after we asked, that a retrospective resource consent to remain at the same site has been lodged and that the complaint was now closed. I don't know why it's still closed because they were still operating illegally. Tuesday this week, we emailed the council contracted planner who was reviewing the application. He responded saying he has provided his report to the council to make a decision. We see no reason for this consent to be approved due to the significant impact on all neighbouring properties, or at the very least, the consent should be notified to allow us all to present our case. As evidenced in our experience with council staff and backed up by information provided in our recent Lagoima request, council staff did not show impartiality. Rather, council staff are actively helping the illegal weed spraying business and deliberately voiding us and our neighbours. Jackie.
What are we asking from you? We're asking not for your empathy. We're asking for you to take action because you represent us. You're meant to be our voice. We're asking you to speak up. We want you to understand our distress that we feel every day knowing that the rules in the district plan are not being adhered to and that our environment and community is not being protected as those rules state. We want you to understand the vulnerability that we feel every day that no one is listening. The weed spraying business is like a virus. It's infecting every part and every facet of our lives every day. It has taken away our enjoyment of our property and has given us the constant worry of a cumulative effect on our health. This is a weed spraying business dealing with toxic chemicals. Who will be liable if no one safeguards us, the residents? We know the flawed application is sitting with the council and we know a decision will be made soon. Obviously, our first preference is it's declined. At the bare minimum, we expect and ask that we should be notifiable so we have a chance to speak. The last thing I'll ask you all is how would you feel if this was happening to you? Thank you.
Okay. Look, thank you guys. Appreciate you coming in. And members of the public, as I have not stated this time, and I'm just asking the members of the, I'm just letting the members of the public know. Clapping is not permitted inside here. If you would show support, you show the sign of respect, which is in relation to, for disabled people, which is raising your hands like this. Brett and Jackie, look, appreciate you coming in. Councillors, do we have any questions for them?
I've got one.
Yeah, Councillor Golightly.
Thanks, Jackie and Brett. I'm not sure if I can, I'm going to direct this at you, but question sort of for the staff through you. Right. Shouldn't this business have had resource consent before they even set up?
Absolutely. We emailed the council as soon as we saw the earthworks. We already knew the type of business it was. We emailed your complaint department and we were emailed very clearly, despite us naming the company, giving them a website, we were told there was nothing they could do or would do until it was set up and fully operational.
So, yeah, I think the answer simply is yes, they should have had a resource consent, but which we don't think should be allowed to be granted in this case anyway because of the impacts. Yeah, and we think we did the right things to notify.
Have you had an outcome on that resource consent yet? Excuse me, members of the public. This is not your time. That is your last warning. Brett and Jackie, I apologise about this. Councillor Benny, you had a question?
Cool. Yeah, just thank you for the handout. Just so councillors are aware, so the red part is the business, is the address of the business. Which one is your property?
We are the one that is...
1049 Pipawai, the one with
Road.
the swimming pool to the right on the picture there, 143.5 metres away.
From the business.
So,
And you can
so
see
more
the
than
shortest,
100 metres within the allowable distance.
shortest distance for someone who has storage sheds and a large canopy with chemicals is only 73 metres away from the business.
That's those houses at the back there.
Yeah,
That's
the house up at
173 metres, and those are private dwellings,
Private
nothing
dwellings,
to do
yep.
with the business.
Homes,
Yeah,
with
and that,
children, people with vulnerabilities.
yeah.
We have a son with disability.
As I said, this is an area where there are 14 properties in a 1.5 kilometre strip, averaging around about 2 hectares. It's not, we're not out, it is a rural production area, I understand that. And as I said, I like the smell of cow business. Yeah, we understand that, but it's small properties and we're all quite close together. It doesn't seem that it would be the right place to set up a business of this scale.
And also, might I add that when an assessment was actually done, it was noted that it was already a large-scale operation. This large-scale operation is actually there that wants to actually grow its operation. So what's there now is not what's going to keep happening, it's going to grow.
And one more brief question, if I could. The Northern Regional Council, have they been involved in this, and how's their response been?
They have been involved as well, and I would like to say it has been very slow. Odour is a significant thing. You have laws about it. To tell people that just because you smell it is not a problem is not okay. We have numerous issues with asking and expecting councils to do what is in your district plans.
When we initially alerted the district council to the earthworks that were going on, we also alerted the regional council because we were told that they may have a concern about the scale of earthworks. As you can see, it's a large area. They did look at it at that point, and we were told that the earthworks in itself wasn't an issue, although they were interested further down the track in odour. Although, having said that, there was within the I think it's within the consent application and within some of the notes that happened afterwards, there was some checking done of the odour that was coming from this place. At the time when the regional council came out to check it, the wind was blowing the wrong way. So it's a predominant southwesterly wind like most places around here have. And we are basically we would be affected by that normal wind, as you can see by the map. That's what I'm trying to say. When they came, that wind wasn't blowing, but we were also told by council staff that these people had been told to take their chemical storage off-site at around that same time. So it wasn't necessarily happening when they came to measure it.
I mean, what you're looking at is a case of a company setting up its business, working its business, and we know what it was like.
Yeah,
so
no regard for anybody.
For a retrospective consent, you need to take into account everything. And what we're telling you is we can see it, we can smell it, and we can hear it. And we're not the only affected neighbour.
Well.
On taste it, true.
Okay, thank you. Now I've got Councillor Peters who's online.
Yes.
See you on screen.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is if the appellants or the council are aware of the action in Fairley. It has affected a similar situation.
Councillor
and
Peters.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
your question, please, Councillor Peters.
Yeah, I did ask the question just now. This is pertinent, and I know quite a lot about it because it resulted in the death of Tim's sister, my husband's sister.
Appreciate that, Councillor
So
Peters.
the
I'm
question
trying to
was,
understand what your question is for the
the question. Sorry, sir, but the question I said: were they aware of the action in Fairley and how that played out?
I guess the question is directed at us, is it? Because
Yeah.
it has to be, right?
Yes, that's correct.
It could be at you or at our CEO. It was
Councillor Peters. This is
yes.
questions to the members of the public. This is not questions to the staff at this time. So you're asking the question from Brett and Jackie. Is that correct?
Yes, are they aware of the action in Fairley?
No, look, thanks for raising that. No, we aren't aware of that, and it sounds like we'd be very interested in that, so if you're able to give us some information on about it, that would be. We are aware of a very similar case in Auckland, though, where the Auckland Council took very strong action against the business that set up in a very similar situation in a rural area, and were actually in court very recently and fined something around the area of $45,000. And an abatement. And abatement served, which is kind of what we would have expected to happen early on in this case. But strangely, it hasn't.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't say anything. I'll just ask a question, procedural question. You mentioned that it's going through a regulatory process, and I think within your speech you said it would come to council for a decision. Now, I don't think that that's normally the case, is it? What's your understanding? Could you elaborate on?
My understanding is what happened is that when we were told that the resource consent application was lodged, that was in December, late in December. It was like the last day you could probably do it for the year. It was lodged. We were told that the application was being reviewed by a council contractor. So it's a company in Auckland, a chap, I probably don't mention his name, but a company in Auckland who was reviewing it. So we were told that any questions or feedback that we wanted to provide, this we were told by council staff here, that we needed to direct them to that planner in Auckland. And we contacted him. We have contacted him and we've given him information when he's asked. We've since found that some of that information was questioned by the planner back to staff at the council, and we have seen in a Lagoima request that we did that some of that information that was fed back to him was incorrect, which just concerns us that he has been supplied with inappropriate information, incorrect information in response to questions that we made, and it also cast dispersion on the way that we were treated and the way that we were responding. We were basically rubbished by council staff.
And can I also add to that?
So just an answer to the last bit of your question. He told us just on Tuesday this week that he had finished his report and he sends it back to council, and council would be the ones that made the decision on the next step for that application.
So you mean council regulatory staff rather than
planning?
Someone, when I say council.
Just wanting to differentiate between.
Can I also put in at this point that we have been very particular in our documentation, as obviously becomes evident to us, that the council now is not, we are getting shut down. And we have a right to, there's a district plan in place. We're asking for the rules to be followed. We have a right, it has felt this entire process that it has been about the business. I have had mega tears over this, anxiety, stress, and my neighbours. This is not just us. And there has only been one person in your whole environment that has listened to us at this stage. This is why we're here today. But it feels like it's a steam engine and it's just going to keep on going. And we have asked for a pause and we were declined because we said it wasn't independent when you have what you call your council as being an independent regulator, but the information that they are giving an independent planner is omitting information that distorts an application.
Understood. So you're questioning some of the information within that regulatory process.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then I assume, just to clarify, further question, that you've been informed that the consent won't be notified. Is that
well, no, we
don't know.
You don't know.
We're told by the planner that no decision has been made.
All right. We can follow this up with staff, but just at the moment we can only
Can I say we have had it
users.
alluded through others that unless there was a spanner in the works, this consent will go through.
Yeah, and another neighbour, owner of another
The planner hadn't made a decision at that point, I must say.
Yeah. So this is a neighbour of an owner of a neighbouring property who called a council compliance officer and was told that they're very likely to get the consent. Basically they're getting the consent unless there's a spanner in the works.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we are.
I don't know who gives them the
I appreciate that
authority
further information. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate the time that you've taken to come in. Councillor Reid, you've got a question?
A couple, thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for coming in, guys. Your moment in the limelight, so to speak. I take it the owner of the business lives on the site?
Yes.
Yes, they do, away from all the storage
Yeah.
and quite discreetly hidden from the rest of it.
If you look on the north side of where that area is that we've shaded, you'll see the house next to 1061. That's their house, which its living area faces out. It's got big trees behind it. The nasty part of the yard is right up the back there, within 73 metres of the back house, as you can see.
Yeah, thank you. I have noted the proximity and the fact that
Yeah, so
all
hopefully
those
that's quite
chemicals would go directly past their own homes as well. So
No.
I would be very careful if that was me.
The wind is not prevailing that way.
Oh, I mean, some of it is going to, I mean, it can head a bit their way as well. It goes everywhere.
And just the other question is, there's a dairy farm backs onto you. Do you think they have, or do you know whether they have any sprays that may affect health on there?
No, we don't know, but we do understand that it's very common for rural properties to spray their paddocks. We've had our paddocks sprayed in the past, you know.
I think when you're
That's not the
questioning the chemicals, which are Armine, Conquest and Valdo, I don't think farmer with his agriculture is going to have that in quantity of storage and the potential for ultimately washing vehicles down.
And one last question, if I may, Your Worship. The fact sheet you've given us states that the company provides weed spraying services to clients including local council, schools, farms, forestry, government, dock and North Power, and you are sure that that's...
Well, this is information that we've found from their information. So that's off their website or their social media.
In fact, once our
And
second
there's
Lagoma comes through, we will actually know that information. But that was taken, that's not our words, that was taken from their own publications of what they do.
Thank you. You've cleared those few questions I had. Thank you.
Brett and Jackie, thank you again for coming in. Councillor Harding, yes.
Thank you, Te Kora Matua. Just very briefly, ngā mihi nui kia kaurua. Probably a little bit out there, but have you tried to engage with anybody from this business at all around the feelings of all of the neighbours?
We were never approached from the company when they moved in. The council team came out unannounced and turned up at our property to say we could go to a meeting on that business's property and to talk about it, which we felt extremely uncomfortable. It was apparently to talk about Plan A and Plan B. When my husband stated that we were uncomfortable about it, as was a second neighbour that had been asked, initially wasn't sure, then came down and said, I'm not comfortable either. We were then sent an email to say there'd be no meeting and they'd get back to us. We then sent an email in the Lagaimo to say we will give the company as long as they need.
Thanks very much.
Brett and Jackie, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time and all the questions that have been asked to you. Thank you for being able to answer those questions. It's good information that you provided to us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Our next speaker is Asopo Samu. Samu, you know the process here. You've been in the council chambers before. You've got 5 minutes, and the time is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to acknowledge you and our councillors and people behind me. E mihi ki tēnei ki te whare, kia koutou kua ki mai nei tēnei wā, tēnā koutou katoa. E mihi mahana tēnei ki nā tangata whenua I roto te whare. And just wanted to acknowledge the House, Your Worship, and also the people of the land. So, thank you for the 4 minutes. I've given out a couple of documents, and one of them basically is our application to start a secondary school in Whangarei. What we've done in the past is having a look at what the need is in our community. And worked out there's about 700 students from Whangarei Heads to Whangarei that travel in every day to access intermediate or high schools. I'm not going to talk to the presentation itself. I'll just talk freely because that information you can take away and peruse in your own time. but I'd also like to give you some time to ask some questions. But first up, why I'm here, basically, Your Worship, is to get your support for a few things, three things really. That your support in principle for us in our application to the Charter School Agency, and also in terms of looking for sites for this particular venture. We found out that the council in its day bought some land out at Whangarei specifically for a secondary school. It's over 40 years ago. That land has now been repurposed and rezoned as parks next to the Whangarei rugby grounds. And that's the other reason why I'm sitting here, to get your support to rezone that back into a school. And then the third thing that I am asking of you, we are pitching to the infrastructure fund. We think it's the new build would fit that the criteria. It creates immediate work for our locals, but then on top of that, if the school gets up and running, it then becomes part of the economics in Whangarei and so on. Not to forget also the pressure that our families are putting on roading. I sat out at Whangarei primary school for about 2 minutes for the traffic to start moving, and the traffic was held up in what was meant to be a solution for our traffic woes at Riverside. Okay, so that's the other part why we're quite keen to have a look at something that's not just insular in Whangarei, but it actually has an impact, a wider impact in our community. Of course, we're going to deliver the New Zealand curriculum, but eventually we'll be moving away and have a look at Cambridge. We've had many conversations with people. We've had a school from Malaysia come over and have a look at what we're doing. They like to partner with us, and so there's an opportunity to expose our kids globally. We're not going to build infrastructure within the school, things like science labs or art classes, because those things are already in our community. So we're looking to partner with our communities to see where the skill sets are and work with our communities to do the learning with our kids. It will be project-based, and so hopefully the kids will be taking up something that they're really, really interested in. And I think that's something that's lacking generally, is that connection between employers and education. I believe that our industry should be determining what the kids are looking at school and offering that to the secondary school. I know that we've got career pathways at schools, but I don't think we do it well enough. Many kids left school without even knowing what they want to do. So I know that there are other projects within the district looking at education and retaining our kids, but also it's how do we attract families into the district? And I know that myself, when I was looking to move, first question I asked when my kids were little was, what schools have they got? Yeah, and so Whangarei Boys High School, Whangarei Girls High School are already at capacity. There is no way, well, you could, but it's actually building it up. And again, that loads up all the pressure in surrounding areas. And we tend to, because we're lacking options for our families, we tend to do a cycle every year of, Whangarei Boys High School's flavour of the month. Next minute it's Kamo, and so you see a flight of students moving around and putting pressure in areas that didn't have the infrastructure to deal with that. And so what we're hoping is providing an option to our families and stabilising that. Any questions?
Okay. Right, we've got Councillor Cooper's got a question for you.
Thank you very much. It's very good for you to come in. Appreciate it. Always good to see you. I very much support what you're saying, and I was going to ask you if you would make an application to the council so we could workshop this better. 5 minutes is hard to get a full grip on it. So I'll have to ask a question. So that is my question for you to ask them if we can workshop it properly and understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. So I pose a question. through the council. Is there an opportunity for us to workshop this concept to the point where it actually is, like if you have a look at what we've done, we're a small company and the skill set will show, because if you have a look through the other documents, there's stuff that's actually not so, it doesn't look professional. And I know that something that looks professional gets probably halfway across the table than anything. So we'd love to get some support in that. We'd love to work alongside the council to make something happen, if that's a possibility.
Thank you for that. We'll go to Councillor Golightly.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Samu. Brilliant, as usual. It's just a question. So when you get the support to rezone this area from council, how long do you think it will take to get the school up and running to its sort of potential?
So currently, Councillor Golightly, the applications for this round has just opened this morning. Last year we applied, and out of the 78, we were one of 15 that got through to round 2. We got to round 2 and we didn't quite make the 6 that opened in February this year. And so we know what we have to work on. And so currently we're working on 2 sites. At the moment, we are leasing some property off you guys at the airport. We'd like to expand our footprint at that point as a temporary site, while we're working on a more permanent solution for Whangarei Heads at the Whangarei Rugby Ground. Time frames, I'm always impatient, but if we get things done, probably I'd love to think that in a couple of years we'll put the first spade in the ground to get that going.
Thanks for that. Councillor Peters, you're next.
Oh, thank you, Samu. If we rezone that piece of land, are you in a position of buying it, or are you thinking about leasing it?
Originally, we would probably think about leasing it, with if it's possible then to purchase it. Yeah, we're open to options, Councillor Peters.
Cool, thank you. And we're now on to Councillor Connor.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in this morning. On the second pamphlet, well, the pamphlet that shows the site proposal here, to be clear, that is just the right-hand portion of that field area, rather than the whole area? Yeah. On the next page, you've got, you've engaged with Rugby League and Northern Rugby League Academy. They're the ones that are connected to the rugby club that's there?
No, this is the beginning of our community consultation. We've started with you guys. So we will be circling back to Whangarei Rugby Club. The rugby league that we mentioned in there, they got wind of what we're doing, and Adam Blair, being a Whangarei Boys High School kid, gave us a call and talked about the idea that he'd like to start a rugby league academy. Our team sat down and thought, there's a lot of academies around, and the concept then is we shifted to is high performance, because whether it's rugby league, cricket, volleyball, you need to perform at the highest level, but also those skills are transferable inside, and so if you're working inside, you still need to perform at high level, and so for that you need good sleep, you need good nutrition, so it's transferable right across. So rather than squeezing the lens right down to a particular sport, it's wider. So we capture those kids that are not sporty, but they still need the skill around how do I perform at the very best at my desk.
And just on what you've just said,
Councillor Connor, can you use the microphone, please?
Well, I was, but I don't know.
No, you're turning your head, so the microphone wasn't picking you up.
Apologies.
Yeah.
In relation to what you said just before about starting the engagement with people, have you yet engaged with any of the people around the area, in the residential area?
We've had conversations with Rauringa Primary School. Whangarei Primary School had a rep there. And we've had conversations with local iwi, but not to the point where we're sitting down like this. It has been informal conversations because we didn't know a lot of the detail that we're looking at. We were mindful that people will be asking questions that we didn't have answers for at the time, but now, after being through that first round, we're a little bit more prepared than last year, and so we will be holding full-scale consultation with our communities.
It's more around direct neighbours, I mean. And last question I have is, 2019, Paruri Park had an issue with development happening up there, which used to be education land, which was viewed as a park. Now, with the fact that this has been a park for as long as I can remember, even though it's been zoned or not zoned as a particular thing, have you taken the perception issue into account with the neighbouring properties, with if this does develop into a school, the impact that it might have to neighbouring properties or clubs such as the bowling club as well?
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people in Whangarei, and as soon as they hear there's going to be a secondary school, they're really excited about the idea, right? We've known that there needs to be something out there for a number of years now, and nothing's been done. And so I think having a conversation is a really good start, and then seeing what people throw up, and then addressing those as we go.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good to see you here. So, as elected member for Whangarei Heads, I'm particularly interested in this. So, two questions from me. I appreciate that you're only in the initial stages, but have you done any research on demand in Whangarei Heads for this type of facility?
Yeah. On the pages in there, it shows how many kids are enrolled at Whangarei Head School and Parkour Bay School, and what year level they're at. And so those kids will be migrating into town. But we will be heading out.
Yeah, I mean, I think my point really was that I see the numbers. It's just whether you've actually engaged with any of those communities out there yet, in terms of whether they're not yet.
But it's we'll be doing that.
Okay, and the second question really, you mentioned the Singapore school. I think Singaporean Institute. Is that?
Yeah, the name
Malaysia, was it Malaysia?
Malaysia.
Sorry, Malaysia. Again, it's a question really of how far you're at with those negotiations. Is this a potential investment from Malaysia, or are they just looking to maybe do exchange, or what level of?
Yeah, the principal of the school used to be Whangarei Primary School principal, and he was shoulder tapped, and ever since he's travelled the world running international schools, he's looking to come back home, and we reached out to him because we were particularly interested in his expertise around the curriculum and how that runs. And so it wasn't a set thing, it was just a conversation, and he said, look, when I go back, I'll start looking at ways that we can collab, and possibly a sister school could be one of those ideas. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And Councillor Harding.
He te koro mātua tēnā koe. Mi ana kia koe e kara. My question is, when I get to it, Toko Solutions has been around for quite a long time, 2012. So, are you the applicant that will be spearheading this, and then throughout the whole build, and if the aspiration is something is built, would you be the owner of that asset? Would it be a whole community thing? What's your thinking?
I'd love to think that it remains something like in community. So the conversations that we have with council is critical as well around that. But most charter schools are private schools, private owned. There's various models that you can have in terms of who jumps on and becomes a partner.
Probably the last question is more, you've highlighted this particular grounds. If the airport was to move, that is a land which is owned by the ministry. Have you thought about that land?
Yes, we have, and if it's available in the next couple of years within that time frame, that'd be great.
Okay.
We also have had conversation at Te down with the Park Road end. We're catching up with them next week to have a conversation. So there's a number of sites that we are exploring, and of course one of them being the Whangarei Rugby Park, and you guys being the owners. That's why I'm sitting here, exploring every option, really, Your Honour.
Cool. Thank you for that. Oh, Councillor Reid, you've got a question.
Thank you, Your Worship. Samu, good morning. If we were to move those pesky aeroplanes off that bit of flat ground out there, would that suit you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was answered in the previous question there. Sabas, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate your presentation this. Good information, and we'll go from there, eh?
All right. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, councillors. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Our last public speaker is Robin Leithing. Come on in. Robin, you are well versed to this environment.
Thank you, and thank you for making me welcome here again, councillors and Mayor. I have a rule that I've lived by, making speeches anywhere, and that is you never start with an apology. So today I'm starting with an apology, and my apology is that you may be well aware of what I'm bringing up and already taking activity on it. But on the hope that, in fact, you're not, because this information only came to me this week, I thought, oh, this is urgent, I'll go and take this top opportunity, bring it up to you. So I've handed you out, oh, I hope it's gone out, the background information to what I'm going to talk to. But I just see that the opportunity to take advantage of the powerful lobby group to the current national government, namely Federated Farmers. I think Federated Farmers can open more doors in Wellington than Local Government Association. And so this group have proposed some very relevant proposals to government to better support local government. There's nothing new, but they've picked on some areas that are vitally important, and I think you should be jumping on the bandwagon and making sure that you let them know that you're very much in support. So the areas that I've focused on myself and just briefly plucked out, if you like, from the information you've got, is first of all roading. And they say property taxes are a poor way to fund roads. Cheers. Residents funding roads for tourism or freight that serve a wider regional or national purpose, resulting in councils having to scale back on renewal and maintenance on roads that are the lifeline for rural families and businesses, is a big point. You are. And so they have proposals in there as to how that could be addressed. Secondly, and here's the old one, it's come back, we'll know, Phil, won't we? We've been it all before. Make Crown land rateable. In 23-24, the Auckland Council estimated the government was exempt from paying a total of $36 million, worth $506 per household, from the lack of collecting tax off Crown land. Wow, wouldn't that be a bonus? There should be room for fostering a sense, this is what they say, of community through events and investing in social infrastructure, libraries, swimming pools, etc., where some people are saying go back to the roots. Well, they are saying no, the roots are not just roading, water and infrastructure. They do say there are needs from councils for social activities, but there should be a restraint on building stadiums and convention centres. Well, I don't know if Ruku Landing has finally been buried, but I mean, it could be applicable there. And we need to look for new ways to restore confidence on a refocused and resourced local government. Wow. Wow. So I cannot emphasise enough how opportune this is for this council to smartly show their support. In fact, I would hope that the Local Government Association is active right now. But I think this is the kind of a time when you get on board very quickly, and I'm asking you to please consider doing something tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Any questions from the councillors? No questions at all. Robin, look, again, I do appreciate you coming in. I do know you know this area very, very well. You know the environment that we're in, and look, you've highlighted something very important to us to do. Thank you. Councillors, we're now moving into our agendas. We have items 5.1, which is on page 7, minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 12th of December. Do I have a mover and a second for the Councillor Mackenzie and Councillor Reid? Any discussion over that? No discussion. All in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Councillors, now move on to minutes of the extraordinary meeting at the Whangarei District Council held on the 18th of December, page 23 on 5.2. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Hulse, Councillor Reid. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.3, which is minutes of the extraordinary meeting on the 12th of February, which is page 33. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Jovich, Councillor Harding. Any discussion? No discussion. Councillors, all in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 6.1, which is the 2025 proposed updates to Delegated Financial Authority on page 39. Do I have a mover for that? I will move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Reid, you'll second that?
Question, Your Worship.
Yes, councillor.
Point number 2, is that a typo? No longer exists in the organisation structure?
Well spotting. The correct wording for that should be no longer exist. Very good spotting on that, councillor. You're still happy to second that? Yep. Councillors, as this is... page here. As this is just tidying up a lot of the processes and procedures inside of council and within the staff delegations, this is a standard regulatory process. There's nothing much more can be added to this. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All those in favour? Any opposed? You're absolutely right, councillor. I should have read that, shouldn't I? Yes, you're right. I admitted to doing that, and I do apologise. I probably should read that now, shouldn't I? Yes, I should. Just for the sake of that is exactly the procedures that we have in council there, and I do not need to astray from that. So before we vote on that, that the council, 1, notes the delegated financial authority delegations that are in place for existing roles within the delegations register, notes the delegations financial authority will be removed from the register for the roles that are no longer exists in the organisation structure. 3, notes that where there has been a change of title rather than creation of a new role, this will be amended via the delegated change process. 4, delegates financial authority to spend up to $250,000 to the following additional roles: General Manager, Transport and Community Infrastructure, General Manager, Waters. 5, delegates non-statutory financial authority to spend up to $100,000 to the following roles: A, Manager, Transportation, B, Manager, Water, C, Manager, Wastewater, D, Manager, Stormwater, Flooding and Coastal. 6, delegates non-statutory financial authority to spend up to $50,000 to the following additional roles: A, Manager Property, B, Manager Water Projects and Administration, C, Manager Community Infrastructure Projects, D, Manager Waste Management and Minimisation. 7, delegates non-statutory financial authority to spend up to $25,000 to the following additional roles. A, Manager Long-Term Planning. B, Transportation Projects and Procurement Lead. C, Transportation Strategy and Planning Lead. D, delegates non-statutory financial authority to spend up to $10,000 to the following additional roles. A, Team Leader Facilities Manager. B, Team Leader Tenancy Manager. C, Transportation Maintenance Contract Lead. And 9, delegates non-statutory financial authority to spend up to $5,000 to the following additional roles. A, Team Leader Customer Experience. B, Team Leader Clapham's Clocks. C, Team Leader PIMS and LIMS. D, Team Leader Requests. And E, Community Events Coordinator. Now that I have read that all out, Councillor Reid, you have seconded that. All in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to page 43, which is item 6.2, amendment to council meeting schedule, and I'll move this one again. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Reid, you're going to second that. Excellent. Typo?
Yes, in the background, Your Worship, a schedule of meetings to be, unless I've got this wrong, a schedule of meetings to be held in a month may not be notified not more than 14 days. And not less than 5 days.
May not be notified.
I'm a bit confused.
Yep.
But that's pretty easy to do.
Yep. Okay, so just to read that one is that the council, 1, amends the current schedule of council meetings to the proposed schedule of council meetings attached in the agenda report as attachment 3 for the remainder of the 2022-25 term of council, effective from 27th of February 2025, and 2, delegates to the Chief Executive the ability to amend or add to the meeting schedule in consultation with the Mayor and relative chairs of any meeting. Councillors, and thank you for pulling up that comment in the background there, Councillor. This is basically in line with getting more efficiencies within the council chamber and to make sure that our time and the staff's time is used more productively. As you can see by the where is it? I'll pull it up here. The last page of the schedule there, where you'll have strategy and planning, community development, infrastructure all on the same day. And then you'll have the finance and the council meeting on the same day as well. Now, this will be different in March, as highlighted. And the April ones have an asterisk on it, because this is Easter week, and there may be a change on that day as well. I believe that's a 3-day week. So, councillors, that's the movement. We've got Councillor Peters. You got a question, Councillor Peters?
Yes, a question.
Yep.
When you were looking at this, was it feasible to have Te Karere on the Wednesday?
When the original proposal was put, yes, that is correct. It was on the Wednesday. That's correct. So it would tie up the Wednesday and then the Thursday for the council meetings.
This one says Te Karere on Tuesday.
Sorry, Councillor, your question? This is
page 51. Was it practical to put Te Karere on Wednesday, or was that in relation to our partners' requests?
Emily, you've got an answer for this one?
Through the chair, only to advise that we didn't look to move Te Karere. We were looking very much at what we've classed as the group, operational group committees, and to align those in terms of the agenda preparation and reporting. So Te Karere, we didn't actually look to move that at all, so that will remain on the first Tuesday of the month at the moment.
So Te Karere meetings haven't changed.
So is there? Yeah. So that wasn't considered. If it might be considered, or it doesn't necessarily have to be considered with this. It's just I'm putting that forward.
Yeah. So, Councillor, those dates haven't been changed. So they're actually the same dates as what they were previously. Councillor Hulse.
Thank you, Worship. I think the public in everyone else needs a bit of an explanation behind this, because this is actually your request to come from our chief executive after his review, his restructure, and I think it's an opportunity now to ask our CE to actually explain the intention behind it, because it's important that we note the changes that we're working together on this and try and get some efficiencies in here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hulse. Simon, have you got an answer for him?
Thank you, Councillor Hulse. We're looking for efficiencies and also to be able to try and minimise the number of days that we bring councillors in. So we're trying to put as many meetings as possible on those days when you actually come in. Not only that, we wanted to trial this before the election. So if this works well, then this could set the scene for the up-and-coming council that comes in. It also provides the opportunity for us to tweak this if it needs some tweaking to be able to make it run better than what we've got here. So it's looking for efficiencies within the organisation.
Yep. Councillor Connor.
Thank you. I'm absolutely all for efficiencies and getting things streamlined as much as possible. My only concern with this, as after we've had a small discussion about this, is my concern is we're going to be having our voices limited at these meetings. I appreciate that we are being asked to circulate questions prior to the meeting to make it a bit more efficient, but I also think that if we are to do that, we are also open to being able to ask questions on the day, because I do not feel that the public will come in and see the staff rolling out a whole list of questions without actually questions coming from the floor. My concern is that people are trying to say, we're going to cut out the fluffy stuff, but my concern is I don't want to be seeing all the spiky stuff and not the fluffy stuff, because positive reinforcement of actually getting people out and doing things and getting the job done right is essential to a great environment. In a workplace, in our city, I'm finishing up. So I want to make sure that if the spiky stuff's in there, the fluffy stuff still is too.
And your point has been taken there, Councillor Connor, and does need to be made sure of, and just for clarification for those in the room that don't understand what the situation has happened is, within all the operational reports, within all the committees, there is operational reports, and that is more in relation to those questions, because that is work which has actually previously been done. Whereas all the items which would normally be coming to council or those committees will still come to those committees, and the questions will still be asked within those agenda items. It's more to do with the operational side of things and allowing the councillors to come to propose their questions before the council meeting, so that there is the right staff in the room to be able to answer them, and that there's a good enough time for the staff to be able to answer the question and find out any information that may be required for that meeting. So that's what the purpose of this meeting is. The purpose of that change was for. It's not to basically shut people's voices down, very clearly on that. Okay. Councillor Harding.
I te kora matua, I just want to tautoko the words of Councillor Connop, and around we all want to help create efficiencies off the back of the restructure that our CEO has undertaken. My concern was really about how the reports will be distributed now that you know we've kind of got stacked meetings, and the timing of those, and so the pressure for us as elected members as we had that time leading up to each of those individual meetings. Well, we had two on the one, and then infrastructure is always quite big. So just that's one of my concerns. And the second one was reflecting Councillor Connop's was around the process that have been rolled out from chairs of those standing committees asking for their queries priorhand. So now everything's a bit of a type written request rather than being able to have that verbal debate. So those were two of my concerns around that. Kia ora.
And valid concerns, as I've highlighted before. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. A comment doesn't need a response, thanks. I'm in support of these changes, but I think the process to bring about these changes probably missed a step. So I gather there was a proposal, it was discussed with the chairs, it was then emailed out, but we didn't have a chance to discuss it as a group of elected members until I brought it up at the end of a meeting, and so we just touched on it briefly. We didn't discuss it in a formal setting. So there was no opportunity to feedback comments like the one that Carol just made around potentially moving Te Kārearea. There was no feedback sought from the wider group, and I think that that was probably a missed opportunity. You know, for example, I brought up briefings. On Tuesday we had a briefing from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then we all went home. And I gather there are some small changes to briefings and workshops, but I think there could have been a better process for us to feedback our thoughts on gaining efficiencies around the structure of the meetings without just rolling it out without consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was part of the group that worked on this, along with the CE and yourself, and it was done because we'd had a number of complaints, just like we had on Tuesday. Guys having to travel, ladies having to travel, take time out for a 1 hour meeting or 1.5 hour meeting. So this is all to rationalise time for everybody. It will minimise travel. That'll be a saving for those that have to be paid for car travel. There'll be staff time will be better utilised, better managed, which in return will give us better productivity from our staff. I'm all in favour of it, and I was one of the backers, so if there's any issues, feel free to come and see me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. Any other discussion? No other discussion? There's no need for a right of reply. All those in favour? Any opposed? Mackenzie, is that opposed? Do you want that recorded? Okay. It's carried. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 6.3, page 53. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Reid, you'll move this. Councillor Connop, you'll second it.
Damn, I've got to read it. I was going to let Nick do that. That the council, 1, agrees that making a new waste management and minimisation bylaw is the most appropriate way to address the perceived problem. 2, adopts the statement of proposal as provided in attachment 1 of this agenda report for public consultation. 3, confirms that the proposed waste management and waste minimisation bylaw as included in attachment 1A is in the most appropriate form of the bylaw, and B, does not give rise to any implications under and is not inconsistent with the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act 1990. 4, agrees that a summary of the information contained in the statement of proposal is not necessary to assist in public understanding of the proposal, if you can get your head around that one. 5, approves a consultation plan as provided in attachment 2 of this agenda report. 6, authorises the Chief Executive to make any necessary minor drafting or presentation amendments to the statement of proposal to correct errors or omissions or to reflect decisions made by the Council prior to final printing and publication.
Well done, Councillor. As you've read it, you'd like to speak to it.
I think it's just tidying up what we've got to do, and we've had a lovely lady, Shireen, over here, who's done an awful lot of work for us on this, and yeah, that's it. Perhaps others may have something to add. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. And thank you for acknowledging Shireen, who's sitting at the end of the table. Good to see you always, Shireen. Councillor Connop.
Thank you. As it would come to no surprise, I'm all for looking at this and doing better for our community, as we regularly hear complaints about fly tipping and rubbish around the place. And aside from us needing to probably do a little bit better to provide more resources to get that dealt with, which is a whole other kettle of fish, this is something that needs to be dealt with to be able to enforce some of the issues that come from some of the things. It is a consultation. It is trying to get people's feedback, and I really do hope we get a lot of feedback, although it's rubbish, so people often will not. The thing that needs to be said, and people will regularly say as well, is we need to be ensuring that we are abiding by this as well. So when we are collecting the rubbish, that the waste that is collected is in accordance with the bylaw also. But wholeheartedly going out to consultation about this.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. Councillor Reid, would you like your right of reply? Okay, right of reply has been had. All those in favour? Any opposed? Councillor Peters, is yours opposing?
Sorry, just a bit slow,
Okay.
Your Worship. No, it was 4.
Okay. As there's no opposition, motion's been carried. Then, councillors, we'll now move on to item 6.4, which is on page 73. And Councillor Reid is up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would get strung up if I did not do this. Recommendations that the Council, 1, approves the temporary closure of the following roads to ordinary traffic for the Northland Car Club Motorsport Event Series, brackets, April-May 2025, bracket, on the following dates in accordance with the Section 342(1)(b) and Schedule 10, Clause 11 of the Local Government Act 1974. Sunday, 6th April 2025. Paiawa Road from Mitatai Road to the end of Paiawa Road. Period of closure 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Sunday the 18th of May 2025. Ruarangi Road from 200 metres from the intersection of Ruarangi Road and Paparoa Road to 200 metres from the intersection of Ruarangi Road and Mangapai Road. Period of closure 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. 2. Approves the temporary closure of the side roads off the roads to be closed for up to 100 metres from the intersection for safety purposes. Delegates to the Chair of the Infrastructure Committee and the General Manager Transport and Community Infrastructure the power to give public notice of these proposed temporary closures, to consider any objections and to either approve, cancel or amend any or all of the temporary road closures if applicable.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. Do we have a seconder? I'll second it then.
Yeah.
Councillor Reid, you want to speak to it?
These are annual events, Your Worship, and I think there are a lot of people out there get a lot of fun out of this, and they do a very good job of making sure they get things right, so they deserve our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? What I will say is, Anna and Gordon, look, the comments that I have heard back from those you've done road closures with, they're very thankful for the amount of work that you put into helping them out, so well done. As there's no other comments, right of reply, Councillor?
Zoom.
Okay. All those in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 6.5, which is on page 83. And I'll just wait for the team to squeeze into their seats. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Reid will move and I will second. Councillor Reid, would you like to read the motion, please? Nice and short for you.
Recommendation that the Council approves the plan, in brackets, the procurement plan, for the procurement of operational and maintenance O&M service provision for water, wastewater and stormwater.
Would you like to speak to it?
I'm worn out, Your Honour. Can you do that?
Okay. Is there any discussions? Councillor Hulse?
Yes, there is going to be a bit of discussion on this for me. First of all, I can actually understand the intent of it, but I'm going to wind it back a little bit. Well over 2 years ago, we got elected as a council, and we said we're going to streamline our procurement processes to allow more efficiencies and more projects to be delivered. At a meeting yesterday, it appears that we're not going to complete our workload this year, and so where are the efficiencies coming? So this one is procurement for stormwater for the 30th of June 2026. And I understand we've got to do it, but we haven't changed the way we're doing things. And that is really contrary to what we're trying to do here. We've had, over the last 4 years, our carry forwards are increasing each year, and yet we still go out with the same procurement plan. So we're not altering anything to get better results. And I've brought it up in the council chamber. You know, there's going to be a report come to our council, I'd say within a month, highlighting what I'm just saying. So when are we going to address this situation about procurement? Because it's too long, it's too windy, and it's not addressing our issues as councillors.
Andrew, I'll pose a question to you from Councillor Hoss.
And one more.
Yeah.
And how much of this is going to carry into local water's done well that we've got no detail on?
Andrew, the first question is, has the procurement process actually changed?
Through the chair, there's the biggest change that we've undertaken with this particular procurement is something that we brought to council probably 18 months ago with regard to the capital elements that were in this contract. As the council are aware, we've included a lot more capital works within the contract that has also been subcontracted out to other contractors, and that's improved not only the efficiencies but the actual quantities of work that have been achieved by the renewals in particular over the last year, and it's also going very well this year. So that's probably the biggest element. I mean, this is the routine maintenance, so it's fixing the leaks, removing the blockages, dealing with the customer queries, and what we're going to do as part of the actual contract documents itself is look a lot harder at the KPIs and the performance indicators for the contractors, and that is where we're certainly hoping that we're going to get more efficiencies, improve the level of service both to the customers and the response times, etc., that are now, I guess, becoming sort of legislative requirements as well through a lot of the new legislation. So there's a number of changes that will have to be made to the contract documents, but this is really just getting council's approval to, I guess, go ahead with the plan to actually tender the documents. The other thing that we're looking at, and is probably the key thing here, is traditionally the water and the wastewater contracts have always been separate. There is an opportunity through this process to look at combining them into one big contract. We're not necessarily 100% convinced that will achieve efficiencies across the board, but it's certainly worth looking at. So that's certainly something we're going to do as well as part of this process.
And the second part of that question is, will this be incorporated into the local water's done well?
It's certainly the contracts will overlap any changes that may be made to delivery structures. These contracts are now 9 and 10 years old, or will be at the end of their period, so they need to go back out to the market. It is time that we take them out. It's also a good time, I think, in the construction industry generally. We're getting some good rates from some other construction contracts, and I think we'll see some good rates here if we go out to the market over the next 6 months or so. So rather than delay it any further, I think it's time to go back to the market.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. Councillor Reid, would you like your right of reply?
Just very briefly, Your Worship, what we're working here is something similar to what we did with our roading contracts and how they were handled. It's not as visible in operation, that's all, because most of it's underground as opposed to being driven on. Thank you.
Right of reply has been had. All those in favour? Any opposed? Councillor Hulse, you'd like it recorded? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Now, next item, I've got to read here extraordinary business is an amendment, an additional item which has been handed out here, which is subsequent to the agenda being circulated, item 6.6, Te Karearea Strategic Partnership Standing Committee Review of Terms of Reference 2023 to 25, was distributed separately but not within the time frame specified in Lagoima. The report was not included in the agenda for the reason that the item was not finalised at the time of the agenda closure. Council are asked to consider the matter at today's meeting to endorse Te Karearea Strategic Partnership Standing Committee to establish a working group to review the committee terms of reference and approve the appointment of members to the working group. This is just the procedural part first, Councillor. I will move that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Harding was second. She had her hand up there quickest. Again, this is just the procedural part of this, to accept this as the next item on the agenda. All those in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Now we'll move on to the item, and I believe, Councillor Harding, you are moving that one. Is that correct? Yep. And Councillor Peters is seconding it. Would you like to speak to it? I'd like to read it out, please.
Thank you, Te Koramatua. The whakataunga is that the Council, number one, notes this report, number two, endorse Te Karearea Strategic Partnership Standing Committee to establish a working group to review its committee terms of reference, approve the appointment of the following members to the working group: Vince Kokorolo, Mayor; Phil Hulse, Deputy Mayor and Deputy Chair of Te Karearea Committee; Deb Harding, Councillor and Chair of Te Karearea Committee; Delegation Armstrong, Hapu appointed member to Te Karearea Committee; Tamatirangi Hapu, appointed member to Te Karearea Committee. And number four, approve the appointment of Hohi Pere Williams as an alternate Hapu, appointed member to Te Karearea Committee.
Okay. Thank you for reading that. Would you like to speak to it?
Clarification, Your Worship, if I may.
She's going to speak to it, but you want a clarification over the motion, is that correct?
Yeah. So just the last point about Hohi Pere. Should that not be to the Te Karearea working group?
Yeah, sorry. As I read it, I felt that it should be to the
Te Karearea working group.
Yeah. Halfway. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting that. I'd like to speak to it.
Thank you. Just very quickly, we were establishing our first working group meeting, and Te Koramatua corrected us in terms of our administrative process, and that this committee, working group committee, needed to come to full chambers first to get the tautoko, and then to be able to start working on the terms of reference. And we have added Hohi Pere Williams there as an alternate Hapu appointed member if we needed to. Kia ora tātou.
Councillor Olsen.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I haven't got any of that paperwork, but that's okay. Just a question. So does that add an extra member to that committee? And so like, I believe it was 7, or is there how many on from each? So from council and from the Te Karearea.
It's a good question to ask, and because you haven't got the paper, it was emailed out, and I do realise it may have been late to come out. So there is 3 from council, which is myself, Councillor Hulse and Councillor Harding, and then 2 from Hapu, which is Delegation Armstrong and Tamatirangi, with an alternate if one of the others can't turn up. So it's the same sort of process that we do for our Regional Transport Committee, and also what we do for our Joint Regional Economic Committee. They're there as if someone's not able to turn up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Do apologise that you have not received the agenda at this present moment. As was stated by Councillor Harding, this was still being worked on as of yesterday, so that's why we're trying to make sure everything was done right and get things through. And yes, Councillor McKenzie, thank you for highlighting the fact that there was a correction on the item 4, which actually should have said the correct wording there of the working group. Councillors, Any other discussion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Just for consistency in the recommendation box, I suggest that we perhaps just change of from to of.
Are you talking about number 4? Sorry, Karen, I'm trying to...
Yes, that's correct.
So, hapu appointed member of Te Karere Committee.
Correct. Of the working group has already been stated in the previous ones. The only alternative that we would put in there would be an alternative to that working group. Okay. So it doesn't need to be said.
Okay. Thank you for highlighting that. The team have noted that and it's corrected. Councillor Connor?
Yeah, I just wanted to show my support for those who've been put on the committee. It's from working with them in the committee, they provide some valuable insights and experience in this space, so it's great to see.
Okay. Cool. Right of reply, Councillor Harding?
Okay, Te Paia, thank you. I'm happy with the amendments that have been made. Kia ora. And let's get on with it. Kia ora.
As the right of reply has been had, all those in favour? Any opposed? I'm going to take that as 4, Councillor Peters. So just a bit slow with that again. I'll slow down my speaking for you, Councillor Peters, just to make sure it comes right. It's been carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.1, which is on page 95. Oh, sorry, what's that? Sorry, 7.1. 7.1. Do I have a mover for the motion? I will move it then, and do we have a seconder? Councillor Connick, you'll second it. Decision made under delegation during the 2024-25 Christmas recess period. This is that Council notes the decision related to Council security and related services made by the Chief Executive under delegation during the 2024-25 Christmas recess period. Councillors, as does happen during recess periods, there becomes some urgent items which need to be ratified, and as this is the first official meeting after that Christmas period, this is the time to ratify those decisions. It is clearly shown in there that the process was followed, and also contacting of both Councillor Hulse and Councillor Jovich to work through the extension so that it can be done. It was noted that there was a concern at the time that why this had been left off as one of those, why that had been missed as one of the decision making before that time period. As explained, it was an omission. Simon, would you like to add anything else to that? Okay. And as with the correct process, we are now just ratifying that now. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favour? Any opposed? Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to 7.2, which is on page 101, sorry. 7.2, which is a placemaking program. Councillor Harding will move that, and Councillor Holmes, I see your hand up for seconding it. Yep, okay. So, Councillor Harding, could you read that, please?
Thank you, Te Koro Matua. The whakataunga is that the Council, number 1, notes the report and attachment 1, Raumanga and Otaika placemaking plan, first round of engagement feedback report.
Okay. Like to speak to it?
Thank you, me te koro mata, ngā mihi nui kia kaurua, ki te tima. We've got to be short on acknowledgements, aren't we? But I think it's a terrific start. We know the complexity of these placemaking plans now, and trying to get across all of the different stakeholders and community members. There's a lot of information in there. I just thought one gap, I should have perhaps made this known earlier, around the Te Whangarei that's based right in the heart of Raumanga there, and how we could pull them in to be involved, engaged, and provide their growing future. They are only 2 small buildings. They own their they lease one part of their site, own another one, but they are looking at wanting to expand, and how perhaps that might be useful in connecting them into some of those available spaces in line with the other community and businesses that are around there. So, ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Councillor Connor.
Thank you. It's great to see this happening, and especially within this community also. Recently, the playground that was opened up in that space was very well received, and we've heard from the community that it's been utilized very well. Obviously, our services need to pick up in a couple of places, but looking at the information being provided from the community members and the amount that has been able to be given shows the amount of things that well-beings actually play in a community, not just the infrastructure and the things that have to be there, but these are the things that actually build a community to reinforce themselves, to show a vision for them to be able to actually live their best lives too. So thank you to the staff who've been working with the community, and thank you to the community for providing this valuable feedback.
Councillor Mackenzie.
I was speaking with someone who's been involved in some of these early sessions, and they felt that the concept of hauora and health of the community and community health facilities may not have been adequately reflected in this first round. So I just wanted to give that feedback, otherwise fully in support of the work done to date, and looking forward to the project continuing on. Thank you.
Fair comment. There was quite a bit of discussion with the community in relation to health and social services, so yes, they were there. Claudia, I just want to say thank you for the time that you've involved in this. I do know that the community were on one of those particular days where that map was actually drawn up. The community were very thorough in making sure their voice was heard. There was a survey put around at the same time, and I know, Bernadette, you were there along with a lot of other of our team who volunteered their time. So, you know, well done to every one of you for actually being involved and actually getting really involved with that community. The Rama community do feel a lot of love at the present moment, and they're really thankful for that. Councillor Harding, would you like your right of reply?
Hang on.
Oh, Councillor Hulse.
Yeah, see in the scope of the Whangarei target that they included all the business area in Riverview Road, and that's not a normal practice. We don't usually go right into the industrial areas. And so what is the feeling, what is the intention of that? Because we can't offer much in commercial spaces.
So what it's basically highlighting is it's highlighting that the actual, where the community feels the actual boundaries of Raumanga actually include. So the community actually feels as though Raumanga includes everything from the top end of Morningside right the way through to Raumanga Valley Road and right the way out to Smeaton's Drive, and including the Blue Goose area as well as the industrial park. They feel that that's all part of Raumanga, and this is their highlights of that. And whether council can or cannot do any work on that is a discussion over to council. However, this is what the community feels as part of Raumanga.
That is not the question. That's not the answer to the question I asked. What is the intention? Do we want to have rules made for commercial zoning out of this community plan? Because they've got set rules, they've got big businesses to run, and they need certainty. So what is the intention to include them? That's my question.
Yep, okay, and your intention of the question, I probably can answer this quite well, but I'm going to hand this across to Bernadette to probably answer, or Claudia to answer.
Through the chair, thank you. The intention, initially, we included this area to hear from the business owners, not so much on any changes to the rules, although their aspirations can be included in the plan to inform then future plan changes. We did have a few feedback of the people who work in this area regarding the infrastructure around them, regarding some of the issues with connectivity to other areas of the district, for instance, the shops, or green areas, or the lack of green areas in this space, where, as you say, there are many business operating and many people working in there, and that means that there are issues, or there could be issues around their the connectivity to the area, so the way they access the area, the extension potentially for public transport to service this area, or walking and cycling infrastructure so these people can get to work. So yes, we will definitely talk to the businesses on their side and their point of view in case there is any proposals for any changes or any comments on the current rules, but we will also work or talk to the people who work in these places around those amenities that council provide, walking, cycling, footpaths, cycleways, and to hear from them as well, or their feedback on any issues with State Highway 1. In the plan, we included some of those issues around the intersections with local roads and State Highway 1 and access and issues with that. So that is some of the feedback that we're searching by including this area.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, why I brought it up, so we've had so many different inquiries on the State Highway 1 and new roads and all that, and there's two councillors represent us on the Land Transport Committee, Councillor Reid, and I'm the alternate delegate. So we cannot have different voices at the table when we're discussing things with government departments, and that's why I asked the question. What is our intention? Because there's been talk of a bypass route out on the other side of Otaika that we've had with New Zealand Transport Agency. There's been the possibility of a proposed roundabout at the Blue Goose. There's a whole lot of different things being talked about, and like we cannot have different voices going to these different parties. That's why I asked. It's hard enough to get one project off the ground without getting scuttled from our own council. Thank you.
And your comments are heard there, Councillor Holst. I do need to stress again that this is about building a relationship within the Ramang community, and this is about identifying the needs of the community. This is not necessarily about implementing changes for things. This is about working out where things can work and where council and NZTA and the other parties can work together. Because there are some projects that may be NZTA projects, and they may actually work in line with what the community actually want, or the community may not know anything about it, and then they go, oh, that's what we wanted. So it's about working together to make sure that ultimate progresses actually happen for the community. Councillor Olsen.
Your Worship. Two questions. One is, and you may have just answered, working with Wakakota, the entranceway, you know, State Highway, to tidy that up. Would that be taken into account here, or is that's more
Voting Councillor Reid's.
Wakakota? Sorry?
Yes, so what the question you just asked is, yes, the community have highlighted the entrance, that they'd like to see the entrance tidied up. They haven't stated how they want the entrance tidied up. They've just stated that they'd like the entrance tidied up. Again, that is where it comes to the NZTA and the Regional Transport Committee to actually work. And Councillor Reid's already highlighted that he's already working on that one. The other question
And
there?
second question is, should Te Pukenga be disestablished, that area of land, is that where it's in here, it says about development, housing development, would that be where that would be taken, be taken into account?
That is all discussions that are had with the community, as because North Tech have not moved from the site and have not indicated that they will be selling their land. That is not something that presently is being discussed. However, the community are well aware of it, and they're always open to discussions that are happening in the Ramanga.
Okay.
As there's no other discussions, Councillor Harding, would you like your right of reply?
No, just mahi tonu. Kia ora.
As right of reply has been had, all those in favour? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. I'll move us into confidential. Councillor Jovic is seconding that. All those in favour? Any opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now just have a short recess period of 15 minutes to allow the room to be modified and changed.